I have not seen images, videos, or pictures of this thing, but what it brings to my mind is a robotic arm that comes out of the dashboard and slaps you in the face if you're not paying attention whilst driving. Hi guys, and welcome to an automotive news update covering everything in the world of motoring and perhaps a little beyond as well. In fact, we're going to be covering EV quarantines. Oh yeah, that's an actual thing. Plus how to get a car if you're depressed enough. And of course, farewell to the Fiesta and lots more right after this.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
EV quarantine. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is actually, and it's a government advisory, the information is coming through that garages, repair shops, and body repair shops and stuff like that have been told that EVs that are in for repair, that have been in an accident or crash damaged or whatever, when they're in for repair, they need to be kept outside at least 15 meters away from anything else. About 49 foot. That's about 3.5 car lengths away. So Thatcham, for example, worked it out and they said, well, in a facility where you could have 100 regular cars, you'd only have space for 2 of these things. And remember, if you've ever been to a garage or a mechanic shop or whatever, cars are normally stacked bumper to bumper and door handle to door handle. So how have they got the space to put an EV 15 meters away? I'm not quite sure. So why has this come about? Of course, due to this discussion about the potential fire risk of these cars. And they say a lack of suitable repair shops and EV trained mechanics risks increasing costs to the insurance industry of 600 million. So that's in addition to the extra space that they need, but they're going to need extra space. So all of this could add an additional 900 million pounds per year to the insurance bill for insurers, which means about £20 a year additional on top of everybody's premium, because of course it's spread across everyone's premium, isn't it? So this is a report it's coming out in all the newspapers, but in particular Reuters has been talking about this as well. And what it is that there's a lack of data on electric vehicle batteries, and this continues to challenge insurers who are forced to scrap EVs. So this is another thing that recently came out, is that a lot of brand new EVs with even minor damage are being scrapped because it's too expensive to actually replace the batteries in them. So insurers have complained that many EVs have no way to figure out how to repair or assess even the slight damage to the battery packs, and the batteries can make up half of an EV's cost. So that's a fundamental issue when you're thinking about where is the viability of spending the money to repair the car when half the cost is the battery pack, and if the battery pack itself is damaged, then that's why these cars are getting written off. Around 1.65% currently of cars on the road are EVs. So actually, if you think about, there's about 40 million cars on the road in the UK, 40 million vehicles, I should say, and just under 1 million of them are coming up to EVs, so 1.65%. And they said that Thatcham said that EV-related insurance claims are already 25.5% more expensive than fossil fuel equivalents and take 14% longer to repair. Now, just to be clear, I'm not anti-EV. I'm actually a big fan of them, and I covered a lot of them. I really like them. I've reviewed quite a few. They're on this channel. Just check out the EV review playlist on this channel. And they're getting better and better, and they're technically getting more and more advanced. And the technology is just leaps and bounds racing ahead in that whole arena. But, we are seeing because this is the early era of adoption of these modern mass-produced EVs, so we're seeing these teething troubles, if you like, with these cars. And one of the aspects that there's a little bit of a myth about them, prone to catching fire and stuff like that. In fact, and I'll put the details, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll put the stats up. But if you look at the data that's come out from the American Institute of Insurers, and they reveal that actually electric cars are no more likely to catch fire than regular cars. In fact, they are actually a fraction, proportionately. I don't mean just because there's less EVs, but proportionately in the number of cars that there are, they are actually a fraction likelihood. The likelihood of those are a fraction of what it is for regular cars. Now, the reason that we keep talking about them and we keep seeing headlines about them is because when they do catch fire, it's pretty spectacular and it's almost impossible to put them out. And that's the problem. It's ironically enough, it's because of how well the battery packs have actually been insulated in order to prevent exactly that, is the same reason why it's so difficult to put them out. because it's hard to get to the batteries because they're encased in this, basically insulated. But when it does split or break or get damaged and the part of that battery catches fire, when you put that out, you don't know how far within the battery pack is actually spread, or it's likely to reignite, or it's heating up, etc. And because you can't get to all of it, you can't actually put it out, and that's what happens. So that's why very often the people in the fire services have to let these things burn out, and then actually leave them for several days. And I think in some cases they have drones with cameras that actually have to go up to these vehicles to see, if they're still, glowing or on fire or whatever, because they don't want to get near them. So that's the problem with these things. And then because of this now, we've had an issue where the repair shops have been told to keep these cars away from everything else, because they don't know if they're going to catch fire again. This is a big, big problem. But having said that, there is some good news, and that is that there is more take up of EVs, and that in fact is part of the general good news, which is in the UK, new car production grew by 25.8% in June, with 177,266 vehicles delivered, according to the latest figures from the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, that's the SMMT. The June performance marks the 11th consecutive month of growth as the industry gradually overcomes the pandemic-induced supply chain shortages that constrained so much of production over the last few years. And waiting times have eased, they've started to come down. We had waiting times as long as 18 months plus not long ago. That's now changing. Growth in the month was predominantly driven by the large fleet registrations. They were up 37.9% to 92,699. And private demand grew a little bit more modestly, and that actually reflects the reality of the cost of living, where individuals maybe are not so keen to jump in and buy new cars because they can't afford anything right now, right? But anyway, that was still up 14.8% to 79,798 units. Now, deliveries of petrol cars increased by 22%, 22.7, so that much. Petrol cars are still the most popular ones. Hybrids, plug-in hybrids, they rose by 40%, so that's a growing sector. That's actually, I should say, plug-in hybrids grew by 40%, and plug-in hybrids grew by 65.5%. That makes sense to me, because plug-in hybrids actually do make a lot of sense for a lot of people. They're actually the best of both worlds. In short distances, they give you all the benefits of an EV, but then when you want to do a longer distance, you can basically use it as a petrol car. So that's quite handy. Diesels are down, once again. They're just nose diving. They're 13.5% down. And the electric vehicle registrations grew again, up 39.4%. 31,700 buyers chose to get behind the wheel of an electric car, at 17.9% of the market in June. So that's a significant growth. But keep in mind, and the top seller I think in June was actually the Tesla Model Y. That was the number one top seller, but it was very closely followed by the Ford Puma. That was second. Vauxhall Corsa was third. The year so far, Ford Puma has been the overall top seller, with Corsa second, Nissan Qashqai was in third, and the Tesla was actually in fourth position. But in June, actually rose to the top of that chart. Now, the problem with EVs, of course, is still the issue of the public charging network. If you can charge at home, it's still about 60% cheaper than doing it there, and there's still a call for them to slash the VAT on public charges so that they can make it more accessible. Now, the other good bit of news with all the car production, I would also say, actually, before I move on from that, I should just make the point that the electric car business, whilst it is growing quite dramatically, it's actually largely due to fleets. So because of the benefit in kind taxation system that exists, a lot of the electric cars that are being bought are, as we said, the fleet sales are higher, and that's where most of these are going. So fleet sales are up 37.9%, as we said, and private sales grew more modestly. It is business and fleets, however, rather than private buyers, that continue to drive this growth, referring to electric vehicle sales, thanks to the attractive fiscal incentives on offer. Even though manufacturers are offering a bunch of special deals and things for private buyers, including flexible subscription models, attractive finance rates, but more could be done. The other bit of good news related to the car industry is that CO2 output has actually fallen. So the SMMT figure showed British commercial vehicle output in May was at its highest level, but that the 2.8% fall in carbon emissions per vehicle made in UK factories, while at the same time producing a record number of zero-emission vehicles. So that's actually also good news for the environment. Now, it's not because we produce less vehicles, it's because of all the manufacturing processes and things that they're doing in order to bring the CO2 down. So anyway, so now having said all of that, and there's some bad news for EVs and there's some good news for car production in general, but overall, I think I'm feeling a bit depressed. I'm feeling down. I'm feeling demotivated. I don't have the desire to go anywhere. I think I'm lacking mobility. You know what I need? I need a £40,000 car. This is what I need. What? What am I on about? Well, check out this report in the Telegraph. So apparently, people on benefits with mental health problems are being given cars worth up to £40,000. The survey found that nearly a third of those cited anxiety as their primary condition would be eligible for the vehicle scheme. Ministers have been accused of wasting money on this system, as it emerged that people who are mobilized by anxiety and depression can claim £40,000 cars on benefits, believe it or not. They can also get insurance for up to 3 people and breakdown servicing and MOT cover as part of a worry-free, that would certainly beat the anxiety, wouldn't it? A worry-free package that is covered by, well, by the taxpayer, I guess. So in order to get this scheme, it's run by a Motability charity. You have to apply for Personal Independence Payment, PIP, a disability benefit to help with extra living costs. So the benefits cover the cost of leasing the car for a set period, and towards the end of that lease, the claimant will be able to buy their vehicle for its current market value. And it depends on the vehicle. So 1,000 people had claimed or tried to claim the mobility allowance in, I think, a survey in 2020. For depression, the figure was 22%, rising to 30% for bipolar disorder, 38% for personality disorder, 41% for post-traumatic stress disorder, and 43% for all the autistic spectrum disorder, according to this poll. One of the cars, so what it is that if you take a car for about £40,000, you have to put down an advance payment of £3,999, so nearly £4,000. Or they could go for something like a hybrid Ford Fiesta for about £25,000, and they don't actually have to put down anything. There's no upfront cost for that car. Now, with all due respect, this is not to demean or belittle or dismiss these difficulties and these problems and these mental illnesses or anything like that. So to be honest with you, whilst we all find this very, very amusing, I'm like, yay, this is great. Why not? This is fantastic. And if it's giving people the mobility and the experience and the opportunity to get around where otherwise they wouldn't be able to do so, then hey ho, I'm all for it. The only thing is that I think actually, and this is another positive, is that actually this is a kind of recognition of something that I've been saying for a while with all of this discussion on ULEZ and everything else. And one of the key things that I've been saying consistently as a car guy is that cars are important for mental health benefits. I've been saying this, and this charity is now proving that case and saying, yes, we will provide you with a car because you need it, because you have anxiety and mental health requirements. And so it actually tallies with what I've been saying, is that having a car is really good for you. It's good for your mental well-being. It's good for your mental health. And if you can prove that you need it, you can get a car up to £40,000. So yeah. By the way, I found this Mustang for sale at $39,999. So if anybody's applying for it, there's stuff like this out there as well. Good luck.
Brown car guy.
Right, so let's move on to actual car news. And the Chinese are coming, or they're continuing to come, actually, they're already here. And they are eventually going to dominate the EV market, I reckon, because they're just one after the other, more and more of them are coming through. And the cars are just getting better and better and better. So the latest one, EV brand from China, is hiphi. H-I, capital P-H-I, hiphi. And that's going to be making its European debut at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, which is next week. And that's going to be the first European public showing of the brand. And it will also be the first UK debut of the hiphi Z and the European debut of the hiphi Y. The hiphi Y is more of an SUV type thing, but the hiphi Z, that looks really funky. And it's an all-electric GT, and it has a lot of performance. It has 494 kilowatts with dual electric motors. It will do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds and has a range of over 430 miles is what they're claiming. It's got loads of innovations, including the world first hi-fi bot, a robotic multi-axis arm infotainment system with 4 degrees of freedom and 8-direction high-speed motion that interact with the AI assistant to bring it to life. I have not seen images, videos, or pictures of this thing, but what it brings to my mind is a robotic arm that comes out of the dashboard and slaps you in the face if you're not paying attention whilst driving. That's what I'm thinking. Let me know what you think that is. That sounds extraordinary. I mean, AI-driven bot in your car. You know what? We all wanted to have Knight Rider, haven't we? Since we've been kids, since I watched the show. So it'd be great to have a companion in the car talking to you. I'm not sure. I mean, this sounds like there's an arm that comes out and has all this freedom of movement. Wow. I wonder if it like takes over the driving if you fall asleep or something like that. Actually, that's not a bad idea, isn't it? Let me know what you think of that. Mercedes CLE is back. So the CLE brand is back. That's a good thing. The only thing is the new CLE, which is the 2023 model, the new one, it's a 2-door coupe, but it replaces both the C-Class and the E-Class. So they've just given up on having 2 separate models. They just go, we just combine it into one. What they found was that the C-Class driver said, oh, we want something a little bit more space, a bit more comfortable. And the E-Class coupe drivers, they said, oh, we want something a bit more sporty. And they said, well, neither of you are happy. We're just going to give you one car, like it or lump it. That's what you're going to get. So that's coming out this year. A drop top, a convertible version will come out next year. And although it's based on the C-Class, but it's 40 millimeters wider at the front and about 70 millimeters wider at the back. This is to improve the handling, make it a bit more sporty compared to the saloon. It's also about 15 millimeter lower, again, just to give it that more sportiness, right? Now, they say there's enough room in the back for 2 adults, so you can sort of 2 plus 2, it's a 4-seater, and has a 420-liter boot capacity where you can put 3 sets of golf clubs. So there you go. Sports car drivers that golf. It comes with a CLE 450, that's a turbocharged 3-liter straight 6 petrol with 375 horsepower. Do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 4.4 seconds, which is not bad. And top speed 155, it's limited to that. There's going to be a faster AMG version, and there's also going to be more versions under that. So for example, 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol and diesel units as well. I expect prices to start from around £50,000 for that, but they haven't revealed them officially. And finally, of course, a fond and sad farewell to the Ford Fiesta. Yesterday, in fact, Friday, as I'm filming this on a Saturday. So Friday, the 7th of July, they officially ended production of the Ford Fiesta. That's after 47 years and 8 generations of this car, which of course, as you will know, was one of the UK's best-selling cars continuously for a huge number of months and years. So anyway, so why is that happening? Because frankly, as manufacturers move towards electric vehicles and EVs, it becomes harder to work that out in the small city car packages because of the size and the mass of the battery packs in order to give you sufficient amount of range. A perfect example is the Honda E. It's a wonderfully cute, adorable little car, absolutely perfect. You'd have that, you'd rock that. It seems like the perfect city car, but the range is limited, you know. And I think that's one of the problems. And also the huge amount of costs, you know, because the profit margins are so much smaller on smaller cars. Whereas on bigger luxury executive cars like that, the profit margins are much bigger. And the amount of money that's going into producing these cars because of the, you know, it takes a lot to build an EV. They're slashing their profit margins. And as they have to move across to EVs anyway, for a lot of these manufacturers, they're committing to that, the government deadlines or government legislations of 2030 and 2035. Although, to be honest, like in Europe, I think the 2035 deadline is already blown out the water. And I'm fairly confident personally that I think that in the UK, the 2030 deadline will also be blown out of the water. I don't think that they will cut the sales of internal combustion engines as they're claiming to do, because we just won't be ready, neither in terms of charging networks, neither in terms of having enough cars that are on sale. But anyway, the transition is happening. These cars are falling by the wayside as we're rushing headlong into this scenario. Let me know what you think of that. In the meantime, let me know what you think of this. And if you've made it this far, then you obviously appreciate the content, you've enjoyed this, and I hope that you'll hit the like button and comment and share and subscribe and all the rest of it. By the way, another bit of news is that I have now opened the channel memberships on this YouTube channel. So if you do like my content and if you're a regular viewer, you might want to go onto there. I think there's a join button below that you can hit, and then you can join the memberships, and there's different levels and etc, etc. So it'd be great to see you on there if you can. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video.
Brown car guy.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these three little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.